trapped in a box. Locked in a rhythm, stuck behind the bars of his own beat. The boy holds his breath, not understanding what it means. It's okay, he says his brother, 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 brother. Don't look away. Breathe, breathe into your veins. Don't look away. No, no, no one to blame. All the pain. Look shame right in the face. Open heart and say, yeah. Don't look away. Don't look away. Time is locked. The silent scream, stuck above forever, never to be seen. Silver is his cry, picks up one piece by his side, and now we'll place down another, and another, and another, and another. Don't look away. Breathe, breathe into your veins. Don't look away. No, no, no one to blame. Hold the pain. Look shame right in the face. Open heart and say, yeah. Don't look away. Don't look away. No, 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 no one to blame. Hold the pain. Look shame right in the face. Open heart and say, yeah. Don't look away. 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 Yeah, 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 yeah. seem scared. I didn't know I wanted you. Oh, maybe we were greedy. Oh, forgotten the pain already. Maybe we were running from something, afraid of facing all of these tough things. No light shines forever. Do we really only get one flicker?
Party people around the world, please welcome to the stage the world record breaking beatboxer, wild looping champion, and collaborator with all kinds of legends, and really nice guy. Go crazy for SK Shlomo! Hello, hello, hello. How are we this evening? It is Thursday evening here in the UK. And you know what that means? It's live stream o'clock. I love going live. I can't believe it's been this long. How long have we been in this new world that we're in? I've gone live every single Thursday. It's been incredible. Hello everybody who is tuned in tonight. It's going to be really fun. I'm so excited about this. I'm working on a new show. I've been working on it for a little while. It's gone a little bit slower than I'd planned, but I'll tell you all about it. I've got a grant from the Arts Council so I can keep developing it. And it's a piece of Rave theatre called Reconnect. And in tonight's session, we're going to show you what we've been making. We've just been in a bit of an R&D for the last few days. All remote, all over Zoom, which has its challenges, but it's also been a really interesting way to work with my incredibly gifted and inspirational director, Mr. Matthew Zia, who is going to be jumping on screen in a minute. And we'll show you what we've been making. We're going to share where we've got to so far. It's work in progress. It is so fun. It is lovely. If you have questions that you want to ask, please do. If you find any theories or holes, or if you want to poke fun at what we're doing, like, this is kind of why we're doing this, is just to sort of test it all out, let it bed in, see what's sticking and what doesn't really stick. So your feedback is really welcome. Hello to the tuned in crew. How we doing? Massive love to Little Wing. Thank you for tuning in. How are you doing? Big love to Murray. How you doing? How are you feeling this week, gang? Big up to Rob. He's chilling. I thought you were saying you're chilling in the bath, but your girls are in the bath. That's so good. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. So, I want to bring onto the stage the virtual stage. I've got a little Zoom room of people here with me today. Various people who are kind of connected to the show in different ways, and who I invited to just be here to hear the sharing, give us feedback, and contribute. So should we meet them? Are they here? Zoom lot, are you guys there? Who do we have in the building? There they are. Look at these lovely faces. This is like everyone you could possibly need to make the most successful piece of theatre. So in here, okay, let me just quickly talk you through who we have. So up in the top corner, that's Matthew, he's the director. Next to him is Ski, who's an electronic producer. He's going to be helping me with some of the music. Then along there, you've got Kieran Hurley next to Ski. Kieran is like in my eyes, the king of rave theatre, having made an incredibly successful show and movie about rave. So I'm going to be quizzing you today, Kieran. Then you've got Jess there, just below Matthew from the Royal Albert Hall, who's our venue partner. Then there's Fiona and Helen next to along there. They're from The Space, who are executive producers and just generally saving my ass every time I get stuck. Underneath Helen there is Kieran, the other Kieran Cunningham, who is the lighting designer, and then next to him is Lee from Gag Reflex, who is booking at the moment, having the non-enviable job of booking in the kids show tour. He's our promoter. How's that going, Lee? We're on sale, guys. You can come and see me on tour. If you go beatboxadventures.com, this guy is sending me all over the country. Are you there, Lee? I don't know. You can unmute if you want. Say hello.
It's nice to be on sale, my friend. It's been a bit of a slog, hasn't it? It's been good. It's exciting.
It's been a long time coming. Yeah, so Lee's in charge of making sure I actually get into theatres and actually do it. So it's kind of the dream team, everyone. Can you please make some noise in the chat for my amazing dream team here? Thank you for being here, gang. It's going to be fun. And yeah, Zoom gang, just feel free to jump in at any point, unmute and butt in. Don't feel shy. Matthew and I have planned tonight's live stream down to the second. No, I'm joking. We haven't planned anything at all. So if you jump in, we'll be very appreciative of it. So should we say hello to... Oh, thank you for liking the stream, Rob Duncan. Should we say hello to Matthew? In fact, Matthew, if you say something, it'll make you big. That's what we like. We like big Matthew.
I want to be big.
Hey, I want to be big. It's Matthew Zia, everybody. Make some noise for Matthew Zia.
Right, isn't it? I'm becoming very large very quickly.
Matthew Zia, if you don't know, is he's the man when it comes to theatre, contemporary theatre directing. We've known each other a long time. I first knew this guy as a DJ, as a hip-hop DJ on One Extra, who came on tour with us when I was in Foreign Beggars. But now he's like the man. On everyone who I tell that I've managed to get Matthew to direct my show has been like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, of course.
Is that mainly because I've got a full-time job?
Yeah, how did you get him to do anything? How did you get him to answer the phone? Yeah, Matthew's got a full-time job. He's the artistic director of ATC, Actors Touring Company. How is everything in the world of ATC?
Yeah, all good. We've got a couple of commissions bubbling away. We've got the very next show that I make is an ATC production that we're going to be making outdoors with the Greenwich and Docklands International Festival. And I feel like outdoors, nothing can stop that, you know? Like,
yeah.
God, that's got to be a goer.
It's Boris proof. I'm sure it is. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So Matthew, can you tell us what it's been like for you? We've been working on Zoom, haven't we? We've been kind of having these like frenzied 1 hour, 2 hour calls, like not even saying hi to each other, just jumping straight into the script and like editing. How's that been for you?
I've kind of enjoyed it. I mean, like, I think because we've known each other for so long, we've kind of had a license to park small talk.
Yeah.
Knowing that we can have small talk whenever we need it, but actually we've only got this kind of limited time to work on the project. We should probably just get to it.
I need to tell you, I have absolutely loved it. I've been sat I'm worried that sometimes it looks like I'm struggling, but when I concentrate, I notice when I watch back the videos from the shows, when I concentrate, I really like frown and I kind of look like I'm not having a good time. But it's been so good. Just I'm really excited to tell everybody about what we've been doing.
We're doing like, I don't know, we've gone to some weird layer now, haven't we? Where we're kind of checking for detail of a particular part of the form. So that's been quite interesting, I guess. I'm really questioning, and this is why I think Kieran's going to be fascinating to talk to, questioning the being in the live space, trying to replicate something that's retrospective live now. And how you know, and the license of just saying, I thought, I said, and suddenly you're back there in the moment that you chose to be, and that license that you've got when in the live space to kind of play with time. Yeah,
because if you don't know anything about this show, guys, it's a story. It's a true story of what happened to me. So, like, what is this all about? You might be wondering if you just joined us. This is a sharing of a work in progress piece of theatre that I've been making with Matthew. It's called Reconnect, the play that turns into a rave. It's a one human show. And it's more than just a vehicle for me to show off my beatboxing and my live looping and my incredible storytelling skills. I mean, it is more than that. It's really deep. It's really heartfelt. It's a show about identity. It's a show about feeling like an outsider. Like through the process of making this show and working with Matthew, I've kind of been exploring my own identity a lot, especially around kind of my ethnicity. Like I always just ticked the white British box out of convenience, but sitting down with Matthew and he was like, yeah, but you're an Arabic Jew, you're not white, bro. And I was like, fuck, okay. So like, let's explore it in the show. Like, I tell the story of how I ended up having a rave in my sleepy village living room at the end of a really hard time in my life. I'd had a real breakdown with my mental health. I hadn't been able to tour for almost 2 years. I was in a state, and I was just in a state of like distrust. Like I didn't trust the people around me. And the only way I could find to connect with them was to not talk to them, but have a massive party in my house where I could just DJ and rave with them and not have to talk with them. So this show kind of explores, well, what is rave? Can you have a rave in a village? Can you have a rave, without all the drugs and the drink and the danger? And what does it even mean to have a rave? Like, and we kind of explore the culture, we explore the definition, we explore like what the elements really are. And then there's this doorbell moment. Matthew, what happens when the doorbell goes? It's about, I guess, 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way through the show.
Yeah, well, we switch, don't we? We switch into, as opposed to you telling the story of creating the rave, you're now in the moment and the guests arrive at the door and they're all here anyway, so why don't we do it? And it becomes this live experience, hopefully, where they're up for becoming Janet and John and the neighbours, and Priscilla and Grumpy Arthur.
Exactly.
Just going for it. But what I love is that it surpasses that, doesn't it? And it becomes about what is the necessity of rave, what is the necessity of connection, human connection.
That's it, man.
Safe spaces to let loose. And I love the fact that we discovered, of course, that raving is connected to madness. Yeah,
the actual dictionary definition is like raving mad. The word rave came from, well, it's in the script. We copied the dictionary definition into the script, didn't we? Where is it? Rave theory. Is it rave theory?
Yeah.
Like.
No, it's wormhole.
Wormhole. The wormhole. So yeah, in the story, I kind of get lost in this. I'm so stuck. I'm so isolated. I can't go out because of my mental health, and I'm just like trying to reconnect to my own life by like watching old raves on YouTube and trying to find out what is rave. And I'm looking into Wikipedia and like finding out about like the dance plague of the year 1518, when 500 years ago, hundreds of people one summer started spontaneously dancing and they couldn't stop. And over 4 weeks, people were like collapsing and dying of exhaustion. And it's like, oh, hang on, what's the line I put in here? Oh, the 1500s. I thought the 90s was old school. Like, it's really silly. It's not too serious, even though it talks about some really difficult and serious stuff. But anyway, here's the definition. Rave, verb, early 14th century. So the first time the word rave appeared in the dictionary, 14th century, and it means to show signs of madness or delirium, from the old French rêver, to dream, to wander, to prowl, to behave madly, to be crazy, which basically is like, that is raving, right?
Yeah, you turn off the lights. Substances or not, and you kind of lose it, don't you? You just lose it for a period of time, and it lets something out. And I'm always asking, what's the unanswerable question at the heart of this piece? And I think with this play, there's something about what do we need in order to safely release madness? Something like that, isn't it?
Exactly. You need a safe space. You need to, if you don't, my character's got really sick because he's tried to hold all of his differences in. He's tried to, and I say my character, it's me, it's a true story, but we've just got into this language of calling it my character because it's obviously a dramatized version, but he's had to squash himself. Like the beginning of the story, I open with Belly Dancer, which is a piece I've put into several shows now, which is telling the story of how I grew up in an Arabic family, and it was very noisy and very loud, and I was very small. And I was told I was beautiful, and I believed it, and I felt it, because there was no worry about, well, what gender are you, what race are you, what language do you speak? You just, it was a very colourful life until I got to school and realised that isn't what British life is like for most British people. It's, and that was something to be ashamed of, like being different. So, and then there's this theme throughout the show of this character trying to learning to suppress himself, learning that if you stand out, you'll suffer, you'll get bullied, you'll get attacked, racist attacks will happen, and a lot of pain happens to this poor character until he finds music. Music becomes this pathway to expression and believing in yourself, and huge things come from it. He's pretty quickly playing at Glastonbury. We've got a whole scene where we go to Glastonbury. Sounds really weird to keep saying he. It's me. I did all this. but yeah, I guess the point I'm making is, if you swallow what makes you different inside, and if you suppress it and you don't give yourself that safe space to just be whatever you are, then that madness brews and grows and gets bigger and more ugly and more scary, so that eventually it will burst out in a very, very, you'll rupture in a very destructive way. And that's what happened to me when was it? I had a real breakdown, 2017, 2018. I was in a really bad way, and in the show we go there, I was suicidal, and the show goes there, and there's a really hard part of the show, again taken from a different show that I did in 2019. I did a show called Surrender, went to the Edinburgh Fringe. It got shortlisted for the Edinburgh Fringe Mental Health Award. Very proud of it. That was a really hard show to do, so we've taken the hardest part of that show and plunked it into this show, because you need to care, don't you? You need to understand the characters. You need to want them to be okay, and then that's why it really pays off at the end, hopefully, when we get to just be can we just celebrate? Can we just come together and drop all of our differences, drop our masks, and just jump up and down in the dark to loud music, right?
You always talk about how all of these things are your salvation, the music is salvation, connection is salvation, the right to turn off the lights and have this ritualistic release. Yeah.
That's it. It's our right.
Yeah.
It's our right to let our madness out, to rave, Josh, hello Josh, how you doing? He says, is it a one-man show? It is a one-human show. That is correct. And he also says, what is Matthew reading? The script? Yeah, Matthew's got the script. He's old school, so he prints it out 45 pages at a time, and I've got mine on iPad.
It furiously, crossing bits out, and by which time you've redrafted it on Google Documents, and you're like, Matthew, you can just look at what I'm doing. You can look at it here. I'm sharing it. It's open source.
I need to tell you something. After our session today, I did a quick run through of it, and I've now submitted this for the Popcorn Writing Award. What's it called? The Popcorn Writing Prize. Popcorn Prize for Writing, which discovered shows like Fleabag and various other now huge international hits and TV hits. So let's just go and win that. That'll be good.
So it is a one person show, isn't it? But the idea is that it ends up being an everybody show. Everybody who's in that space is moved to action.
Yeah, so when the doorbell goes, the audience very quickly realise this is immersive theatre and everybody in the building is part of the cast. So they're playing the villagers who came to this rave in my house in real life. And the whole idea was born out of that show I mentioned that I took to Edinburgh in 2019. Last time there was in Edinburgh, I took a show up there called Surrender, and I solved a problem that I've had pretty much my whole career, which is that I like to tell a story in my shows. I did my first seated show in like 2006, and I loved it because before that I'd only been playing like raves and festivals where there's no point trying to say anything to the audience that's anything lower than make some noise. Like that's all you can really say in between songs. And when I started playing seated shows, I was like, hang on a minute, I can actually get really deep and personal and emotional, and they'll come with me. But the audience were always complaining that they wanted to dance because my music is quite ravey. So in 2019, this show Surrender, it was the first time I'd done a show where we had both. And what happened was on the first night of the run, we'd got through the really hard part of the show where I'd been really sick and I'd got better, and I'd said, look, I'm alive, I'm here, I survived, can we please just celebrate? And on that first night, someone on the front row up in Scotland, he just stood up and he went, yeah, and he kicked his chair away and started dancing, right? And then everybody else followed suit, and I was like, okay, let's rave then. And I was like, this is it. That actually happened every night during that show, and it was the perfect venue. It's this really filthy venue called the Belly Dancer, which is the perfect name, in the underbelly in Cowgate in Edinburgh, which is basically a dirty nightclub with chairs in it, fold up chairs, so that every night they lost the chairs and we partied for that last part of the show. And I was like, this is now the way, a show that starts off seated theatre and ends a rave, and that's how this whole thing was born. I'm just thinking, should we play them a little bit of the BBC version? Because obviously we've already had a bit of a stab at this show. It was supposed to open last summer, right? The original plan was for Reconnect to open in Edinburgh in 2020, and obviously lockdown stopped that. But we got a commission from the BBC to create a 15-minute TV version. So I can just show you, I can just flick through it, I guess, so you can see a little bit like what the TV version was like.
Yeah, to start the start slow. Just because that's the thing we've been wrestling with.
This?
Yeah.
This is the TV version of Reconnect. We made like a 15-minute short film adaptation. This was shot literally a year ago, right? I fought so hard to escape these walls, to get my spirit back, to be my true, colourful self. But now I'm stuck again. I've been here for weeks. Every day feels like a fresh loss. Yesterday, we had another bereavement. But I can't feel anything. I'm running out of ways to escape. How can I escape? Escape. How can I escape this solitary confinement? Yeah, boom! Like I'm pretty. I thought I was gonna cringe if we watched it back, but actually, that's got some energy.
Decent. So we're trying to shift that, aren't we? Because the film allows you to be live, miserable, depressed, down in the real space.
Yeah.
We could start the show like that.
Yeah.
But we found that it had this dreadful artifice to it, the whole thing, where you were half having live discoveries on stage and half trying to tell the true story of a thing that had really happened, and the two ideas kept fighting for space, didn't they?
Yeah, it's like, is it happening to him now? Are we actually like watching it? Are we a window into this happening now, which is like what it is on camera? But then I keep on wanting to talk to the crowd because I'm so used to being like, can you guys just make some noise? And we don't want to lose that.
Yeah, so we have to hold the liveness of the event, which means that you can only ever tell the true story in retrospect.
Yeah.
And that's what this second or third, wherever we are, third pass has been, is to go through and go, what's the dynamic of a human speaking to other humans in a real space about a live thing that really happened, and then you get them to jump into it at some point.
Yeah, it's fun. So we've kind of created like we haven't separated it into two characters, but I kind of play almost two roles. So I've got like the narrator who was like, you know, I was stuck. There I am sat in the chair. I can't breathe. Da 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 da. But then I can jump into character and I can get in the chair and I can say, or I might say something like, and I was thinking, and I get in the chair and I'm like, I can't breathe. I can't move. This is a joke. Like, so that feels like a language that's going to work. I mean, we haven't tried getting in a room with it yet, and that's going to happen in October. But it feels like we're setting ourselves up for that now, right?
Yeah. I mean, and also, I mean, you know, we've done it's worth saying we did in the live space before the pandemic some real solid story development, kind of attached to the hero's journey for those who are familiar with that, you know, which is that you get taken into another world, and that other world is music, and that frees you in a particular way, and you have challenges within that world. So there's a real arc to it.
Yeah, and it's so fun. It's just so fun. I have a feeling about this show that I haven't had for quite a long time, and it's got an album that goes with it, and it's my calling. Like, I've just been living for Rave ever since the actual events of this story. And if you've been following me on social, or, you know, I've been hosting all these big, massive charity rave events and all kinds of stuff online, and you'll know how much this means to me. You know how personal this is. So yeah, I'm excited. I feel like we should speak to an expert. We've brought him all the way here from Scotland. You know, are you in Edinburgh there, Kieran?
I'm in Edinburgh just now, yeah. I'm in an Airbnb in Edinburgh, so I've got quite dodgy connectivity, unfortunately, because I'm not at home. But
Can I give you a proper introduction, please, Kieran?
Yeah, go for it, man. Jump in.
This, everybody, is Kieran Hurley, who you made all kinds of shows. You've really pioneered the way, especially for those like solo shows. But there's one particular piece that we were really drawn to as an inspiration for this. What I want to do, guys, is just play a little. I've got a clip from your show. And I've got a clip from your movie that the show got turned into, right? So the show's called Beats by Kieran Hurley. Let's watch a bit of this.
In 1994, the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act made it illegal to have certain, and this is a quote, gatherings of people around music, characterised wholly or predominantly by the emission of a succession of repetitive beats. I'm Kieran. This is Johnny Whoop. And none of this is real.
So already you've got the prodigy in there, like, sold. So I feel like this might have been the original Rave theatre show where Kieran sits at a desk, tells a story whilst Johnny Whip's playing all these visuals and rave tracks. And I never saw the show, but I read the script and I also watched the movie. All right, this is the movie.
Someone's gonna go off. Me and you, right?
The movie's quite a different beast, like.
The Criminal Justice and Public Order Bill, you heard about this? They want to make it illegal to have gatherings around music wholly or predominantly characterised by the emission of a succession of repetitive beats.
More prodigy.
Hi, mate, hi. Do you like it?
Everybody
Everybody is in the place! Everybody is in the place! Everybody is in the place! Who are you speaking to?
Nobody.
I love how Scottish it is as well.
Do you need subtitles?
Robert's right.
Get in the car.
Him and his family are scum.
They want to privatise our minds. Keep us in our separate boxes. Rave to the grave, the biggest night of your life, Scotland.
Is it a party?
It's a protest, Friday night.
Come here.
An illegal rave? Are you mental?
Jono! Please, mate.
Hello, Colin. It's about Jono. He won't be coming in today. He's dead. Aye, we're all pure gutted, like. I'll pass that on.
I love that. I'll pass that on. He's dead.
They want us to be afraid of each other, but we're not. That boy dragged you down. Just you try and stop us all.
Where lawlessness prevails, people become a danger to themselves.
These are really proper best pals, aren't they?
I'll see you on the other side then, mate.
Yes. So that's Beats the movie. I think I watched it on Amazon, but it's go and watch it. It's an incredible piece of work. It's really uplifting. It's really powerful, and it's sort of set right at the beginning of where all this rave stuff started, and it evolved out of a show that Kieran did. Was it at the Fringe you first ran that show?
So we did it in Glasgow in a venue called the Arches.
Oh yeah, of course.
Anymore, sadly. The thing about the Arches, it'll be known mostly to people here as a nightclub, if you knew it at all. But it was also a performance art and like live art and contemporary theatre venue, which is like this really strange combination of things. But what it meant that when they had a kind of remit for supporting new work and work by unknown artists and stuff, and so that's kind of like it was right at the start of my career, really. So that's kind of how I was making a show there. But it also meant that they just had like we were able to just borrow like loads of kit from the nightclub, which kind of built the kind of really intense ravey infrastructure for the show. So it's kind of like hit upon a sort of format for the show that was really, really driven by all the work that Johnny was doing on a level of sound and music that wouldn't have worked in the same way if we didn't have the speakers available to us that we had there. And we're using a lot of moving lights and stuff like this. And so we kind of hit upon that kind of out of a consequence of who we were working. And then we moved, then the show transferred to the Edinburgh Fringe and was at the Traverse Theatre there. And that's sort of where it took off.
Where it started blowing up.
Yeah, I guess so. It was a big one for me because it was a while ago there. You saw the video, like how a younger guy. And
looking gorgeous,
that's a video that was like right from the like early days of it when we started touring it. Like production values increased a little. Like we got a bigger screen and it felt a bit bigger. Do you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big one for me back then.
That's so cool.
I saw that show in Edinburgh.
Did you see it in Edinburgh?
Yeah, what was it, 2013, 14?
Yeah, it was 2012 and it came back 2013, so it could have been either.
Yeah.
Did you see it at the Traverse or at the Pleasance? Doesn't matter. Because that would have told you what year it was, but it's completely immaterial and not important.
I think the Traverse, were you downstairs? You did the little downstairs one?
Yeah, in the Traverse, yeah.
Yeah, that was the one I saw. Yeah, blew my mind. Also because of how static it was, I think. You expect a show that's about rave to be full of movement, and you sat behind a desk with a microphone and told a story.
Well, this is the thing, innit, is that I'm a storyteller. Like right now, I'm mostly writing scripts, but back then I was performing solo shows, but they were all like you're kind of one man with a mic telling a story thing, and so. Like what we were trying to do was create, and this is in terms of like the whole thing about rave theatre or whatever, we were trying to create, like use the technical apparatus of the theatre to create an atmosphere in the room that was like it felt really ravey. Like so it's in like the room downstairs in the Fringe, it's like a really hot, sweaty room down there in Traverse 2, and like we had like the lights doing their thing and like a big sound as the audience was entering the space. So people were kind of like, pumped. Sort of like, okay, cool, this is like, yeah. But but we weren't ever doing a thing where we were asking people to dance or engage in that way. So it was in a new writing theatre where people are used to coming and sitting and seeing a story or listening to a story. And so it's like there's an implicit contract in the space there. And so we were kind of leaning into that, I suppose. And it's also to do with skill set as well. Is that like I'm not an MC or a beatboxer or whatever. So like what I do is tell a story. So those were the rules of that particular space. Now, some people really wanted to be given a chance to get up and dance at the end. So I'd be interested to have a conversation with you guys about how that's going, you know, like, but also I was quite happy with, as an aim for the show, for people to want to leave. And that, like, a lot of people said, like, I just wanted to leave and just like find somewhere to like go dancing. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just what I wanted to do at the end. And for me, that I was like, I'm like happy with that. As kind of, do you know, like, for people to go off into the night and go on some wild journey into Edinburgh and find somewhere better equipped to sustain that kind of partying than
go and rave.
The basement of the Traverse Theatre, hosted by me, by a playwright. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, for me, that was like for people to leave with that impulse and take that impulse with them out of the space was as much of a success as like me attempting to host that and satisfy that impulse for them in a theatre setting. Do you know?
So that's it. Because people, I think, the contract, the pre-arranged contract that Schlo has is that they're coming to dance.
Well, that's a really, really super important, because it's there's like an implicit contract, and I use the word contract. I don't mean like, you know, an agreement. Like, there's an implicit agreement in the space, isn't there? And when you enter a rave, in terms of how you're going to engage in the space, and when you enter a theatre, and they're really, really different. And the thing that can happen when you flip the rules of a space for an audience is you can sometimes meet total resistance. So no matter how good you are at holding the space of a rave for people, if an audience's expectations around what the rules of engagement in the space that they're in is flipped without prior warning, then you can kind of get this like, oh, I don't want to do it. Like, come on, everyone, get up and dance. Like, so it's really interesting to me that Schlo's first sort of inspiration for that from the previous Edinburgh show came from the audience. You know, it didn't come from the performer going, okay, now we're going to change the rules and you're all just going to do as I tell you, because usually that doesn't work at all for people, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's kind of my background. Like, I as a day job, I go and perform beatboxing shows to like corporate events and parties and all kinds of situations where that contract is very much more vague than when someone's bought a ticket to come and see a show and they've committed to being entertained for an hour, and I've really got to get people on board quickly. Sometimes I've got like a 7-minute show and I've got to get them up, so I've done so many situations where I'm trying to drag them up that this is going to be fun.
And that's the skill set thing, isn't it? We spoke about it on the phone a little, is that like even if there is resistance from an audience when you change the rules, like there's a difference between me trying to cajole a bunch of people getting out of their seats and you doing it. This is your job. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's like what you do.
I mean, there's a few tools we use, right at the beginning of the show. My wild Arabic grandmother brings out a belly dancer and makes everybody at her party stand up and dance, and she literally grabs you from your hands and doesn't let you sit down, and I kind of embody that, and I make the audience like, and it's a childhood memory of mine, so the audience are just on board, like they're up before they've even felt awkward. There's no time. I think there's a thing when you watch someone perform, especially in like the world of like stand-up comedy, for example, and there's sometimes this squirmy feeling where you're like, are they going to pick on me, or are they going to struggle? Is it going to be awkward or uncomfortable? And there's other performers that you watch where you don't even think, you're just sucked in and they just take you, and there's no questioning about the technique or anything. You're just, you can't hardly breathe because you're laughing so much. Like that's what I'm going for. I want people to be swept. I don't want anyone to be doing any thinking. Do you know what I mean?
And I think the thing that's really important as well, as Matthew points out, is that like it's up front, even in the title of the show. It's like the subtitles, the play that turns into a rave. And so like you can't buy a ticket for that without knowing what you're coming to, in which that already establishes like some rules of engagement for the people that are coming. So hopefully the majority of people there have signed up for this and are truly looking forward to the bit where they get to rave at the end. Do you know what I mean? Whereas for someone who's just bought a ticket for a play and
then they're asked to rave. Yeah,
it's like and then has that like put on them, then that's a different thing, you know. So it's about all of those different like ways in which you can establish what the rules are if you're going to try and do something ambitious like turn a play into a rave, are like really important. And then continuing to do it in the space with the stuff where the belly dancing stuff and all that interactive stuff that like plants a seed for people about this is how it's going to work in here, right? Like, and people get used to that idea.
But it's also trust. It's you can trust me. I'm not just in control. I am confident. I am comfortable. And if you push back, I'm so used to that. Like I don't know. I need to get back on stage, Kieran. It's been too long.
No, but it's a big thing, isn't it? It's like that. It's so much about someone's stage presence and energy and stuff as well. Just like to.
But I remember you telling me about when you had someone come in who wasn't trying to be disruptive, but really was wanting to party, and you had to handle that, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, one of the things that was exciting to theatres about our show was they would go, this can really bring in like new audiences, like people that we want to reach and connect with, people that don't usually come to the theatre. Of course, exactly. I really want to do that as well, because that's like super exciting to me to do that. But the challenging thing is you're bringing in people, like we successfully did that, right? We marketed the show in such a way where there were people who might not normally come to the theatre coming. And that kind of meant that those people didn't necessarily always know the implicit contract of how you behave in a theatre space, and they were coming to a thing that was about raving, and that was really important to them, to the whole story of their whole life, do you know? And some of them, and they were out for a night. So there was,
I'm just thinking this is someone who's done a lot of drugs before they've walked into the theatre.
So we did a gig in Bristol where that happened, where there was some younger guys who like were just like
ready.
It was an interesting atmosphere in the theatre, right? Put it that way. It's someone like him rolling down the stairs and crawled across the front of the stage to try and like get out. But the other one was in the Traverse Theatre with a guy who clearly was a raver back in the day, had like come in, and he was from, I could tell from his accent, he was from Edinburgh, and I'm going to assume that he wasn't a regular at the Traverse. And you could see that he was being so noisy and so like in a really up for it way, like really come on. And you could see there was the like, is he going to get chucked out kind of thing, like front of house staff manoeuvring and all that. And I was just like, it would just be such a tragedy if this dude's experience of this, you know, stepping over that threshold, like coming into a theatre space, if his experience of that was to be met with like, no, you're out. The space can't sustain your presence in here. So I just had to like think on my feet a little bit around, like, there is a way where this has to work, where it is just everyone sitting listening to me tell a story, because I'm not doing this interactive thing. So there comes a point where this guy's got to shut up, but at the same time, I don't want him to get chucked out. So I just like came out of what we were doing and improvised a little bit and just like had to have a bit of a chat with him where I was like, man, it's like amazing that you're here. But what's going to happen is in a minute, I'm going to sit at that desk and I'm going to tell a story. It's going to last about an hour. And for that to work best for everyone, we all kind of just need to shut up. And to be fair to him, he kind of got it. And the woman that he was with, who I assume was his wife, was like spent a lot of time like putting her hand on his mouth, like, shut up. And you know, and they kept it together apart from when Dominator by Human Resource dropped about 3/4 of the way through, and he just jumped out of his seat and was like, "Come on!" But you know, he was allowed to do that by that point. That was all right, and he stayed to the end, and he liked it. And it was a little bit weird having to do a kind of school teacher act at the top of a play
discipline,
that has an anti-authoritarian politics at it. But nevertheless, it was like, yeah, it's just that funny thing that the whole rave theatre thing can do, where you're kind of occupying quite contradictory worlds, and you're hosting that, and you've got to kind of host that space in a way that can sustain the contradictions there. So you're kind of like pushing and pulling in a few different directions to try and make it work for everyone.
Yeah, this is what I'm really, really excited to try out, because it's been. We've been working on this for a while. We haven't had a chance to get it in front of a theatre audience. But guys, if you're watching this and you're in the UK, we're going to be doing some work in progress sharing in October time. And we're going to get a chance to sort of start testing this in front of a crowd and seeing how they behave, seeing how they react, seeing how those kind of moments evolve, because there's so much in this script that revolves around the audience, where I'm kind of like chiding them or interacting with them or like experimenting on them. Like there's a whole bit where we create the periodic table of rave and we break down all the different, like the most key elements that you need in a rave, and the audience have to join in. If they don't, it's gonna feel, it won't be a rave, it won't work. So
no, but you've always had that, haven't you? You've always had your shows have always been interactive.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking, you know, one part of the periodic table is that we create an anthem generated by the crowd.
Yeah. That is right here.
Making sounds and you looping them and putting them into your kit and your machine and playing around.
Yeah, so it's a platform for me to do what I'm really used to doing. But what I really want to do with this show, like I've got this other show that I'm touring that I'm about to start touring again, which is already made. It's called Shlomo's Beatbox Adventure for Kids. And what I love about that show is that it's a really easy sell. You don't actually have to be a Shlomo fan or know anything about me, really. It's like beatboxing for kids. Those 3 words seems to be enough to just sell it to a lot of people, to the point where like we've had to just put on bigger and bigger tours. And that's lovely. And I love doing that show. Because it gives me a platform to show kids that it's okay to be alternative, it's okay to feel like an outsider. Here's a way I've chosen to express and you can choose yours. But what I'm hoping with this show is that we can achieve that same kind of evergreen thing where it doesn't matter if you followed my career or not. It's like, do you want to go to a play that ends in a rave? Yes, come. And then they're in my world. Like, you don't have to be... Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't necessarily go and watch a Radiohead show unless you loved Radiohead or were at least interested in loving them. But yeah, I feel that that's kind of, without trying to put a goal in front of the creation, like the creative process comes first. But if that's a positive side effect of this, I'll be overjoyed. Josh says, how about Radiohead Rave? That sounds good. Tom and Co, if you're listening, let's collaborate. And hey to Laura, here a bit late. Hope all is jolly good with everyone. We're having a great time. How is everyone doing up here in Zoom as well? Like there's a whole gang of people here with a huge portfolio of talents between them. Do you guys have any like thoughts or questions or compliments or criticisms you want to throw at us about like what we're doing, where we are in the process, what this show is? I mean, don't all unmute at once because it'll be really awkward.
I'll go. I'll say something slow. Listen, it sounds great. You know, I've just sent a text to Helen, who I work with, saying I feel like his grandmother listening at the bedroom door. So I'm just going to frame it with that. But I think it's great. I think anything where you can kind of have that sort of multiple characters, be a narrator. This last 14 months has been so weird for everybody. And in a way, what's going to be really interesting is the fact that we've lost any sense of time. And actually what's amazing about kind of Rave is that actually it's out of time as well. So I think, it's a really good construct. And I like the idea. I think you're right. I think it is really important to have that narrative character so that you can be referencing other things as you go, as well as the character that is you going through these experiences. But yeah, that's my bit.
Oh, thank you, Fiona, who, if you don't know who Fiona is, she's the boss of The Space, you were like instrumental in making that BBC film earlier. Like I'd never really produced a TV film before, and you guys helped me so much. So thank you for all the support you guys have been giving to this idea, and just sort of believing in me when I phone you up being like, oh, I want to have an online rave where we step to the moon. I think you were like probably the second person I told that to, and you were like, and I think it kind of would have gone either way if you were like, Don't know if that's going to work, Shlo. I don't think, but you were like, sounds great, do it. Tell us how we can help. And that just having the people around you who believe in your mad ideas is absolutely essential. So thank you. Who else here up in the Zoom has anything to add? Like, what we really want to learn from this is like, what have we not thought of? Like, what are the issues and problems? Or yeah, what are you thinking, gang? Ski, I felt like you were about to say something then, and then I kind of changed the prompt.
I was going to big you up about the beatboxing for kids show.
Oh, thanks.
What was that question? No, I just wanted to kind of say what an amazing communicator you are, and how I'm sure that's going to translate so well to the show. And you kind of invited me down with my family, my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter at the time, 8-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And she just didn't know what she was being invited to. She wasn't into kind of beatboxing or anything. She left like completely obsessed by you and how you'd kind of brought her into your world, and you spent the next kind of 6 months as beatboxing.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
I really, we'd worked before, for a number of years, so I kind of knew you really well, but just that ability to kind of bring the audience in together is amazing, and I'm just so intrigued to see how that's going to translate with this show. I'm sure it's going to be incredible.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. If you don't know who Ski is, guys, Ski Oakenfold is an incredible producer and Ableton guru, and we're a part of this process that I've got the funding for is that we can I can bring in some co-writers. So we're going to be working together, aren't we, on some ravey stuff?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you kind of really supported me as well. I started using Twitch this year from kind of just, blindly going into it, not really knowing what it was, and just kind of really enjoying the process of building a community.
Hashtag Ski Sundays. You've got to tune in to Ski's show every Sunday. If you're interested in music production, I listen to it every week. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I spent a lot of time making kind of tutorial videos that are, aiming to be quite polished and edited and everything. And I wanted to do something that was just about the process, very raw, kind of making mistakes. Sometimes my computer breaks down,
been there.
And I've learned so much from it, and you've supported me and helped me with the technology. And I see what you're doing with, what you've been doing with this.
Man, I love it. Live streaming is it's just another art form. It's just another chance to like geek out. So I've absolutely loved my journey in the last year, learning how to do all this stuff. It's been really cool. So I can't wait to make some music with you, Ski. I think that's going to be really fun as well. Who else is up here in Zoom? The other Kieran Cunningham, who's we've worked together when I've worked with Matthew, and I guess you two kind of come together often as a package with you doing the lights, right, Kieran?
Yeah, we definitely tried to work together enough. It's going to be a mad one, I think. From when we did the show up in Liverpool originally, well, the Sense and Sound migration music.
Yeah. That's the last time we worked together.
Yeah, and I think because then we just sort of started to really touch on with the belly dancer and how that came from, it bled into the audience and stuff like that, and that was a real turning point in that show. And it's just going to be really interesting to see how we move lighting and you between audience and just the whole interaction with it all. How we go from non-rave back to reality, sort of hyper reality. So it's gonna be a fun one, I think. Especially if it goes up into the fringe, working with limited lighting and stuff like that, and how we somehow produce something magical is going to be, well, it'll put me to the test, I think.
Have you got like?
Can I big up Kieran Schlow?
Yeah, please do big up Kieran.
The reason I often work with Kieran is because he dances around in all the different worlds. So he's got a background in rock and gigs and working with artists and musicians on big stages and festivals. And then he does the corporate stuff, and then he does the little delicate sunlight coming in through a garden gate back, you know what I mean, like in a theatrical landscape. So he's got the broad spectrum of, I think, what's required for a show like this. It does require us maybe to drop the kind of soft lighting from the back garden gate as you're sitting and contemplating in your village chair, and then to go full, you know, full out, just like the full madness of the rave.
Full lasers and strobes and smoke.
Yeah. And me and Matthew have that sort of, I don't know, it seems to appear quite a lot in majority of our shows. There's always big elements that sort of people are not quite expecting from the lighting and direction, and it just sort of, it takes you and it comes out from nowhere. And I think people don't expect that.
I'm excited.
Sitting in the Young Vic or the Royal Exchange, and then all of a sudden, bam, 30,000 K of lights smashing you in the face. You know, we tend to do that.
I'm really glad that you were able to jump on this, Kieran, because it's starting to make me just think. I think we've been quite, we've been like sort of staring at this script for the last few days, and it does get a bit like, because we're working on paper, and it's like, you know, me and Matthew were like, oh, hang on, would you even say it like that? When you write it down, you write it in a different way to how you say it. But like when I start hearing you speak there, and I'm like, hang on, this is going to be a show with lights and with energy and with like, I just can't wait to stage it and get you kind of behind a lighting desk. It's going to be really cool.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It just needs to hurry up. COVID needs to bugger off now.
Well, I've learned, it's taught me a lot about just slowing down, breathing it in, taking my time. I think it's good. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying COVID is good, but what it has taught me, you know, what Ski's been saying about live streaming, the initial disappointment of losing what felt like this show. I felt like I'd lost this show. We had it all planned. It was going to open in Edinburgh. We'd been offered an award to take it up there, and it was like my heart was broken. But actually, what's happened is it's given me way more time. We were going to have to make this under absolute crazy pressure to get it ready in time, and now this whole thing has taught me to just slow down, take a breath. Like I've always been like, no, we've got to do it now. Go. We need to do it yesterday. Call people, make it happen. And that's like, that is one way to work. And I have, you know, you can achieve a lot with that, but this feels really good to be like, you know what? Matthew and I are going to be working in a room in October. It's months away, but that doesn't feel like far away because I've got a lot of work to do before then, working on the album, getting things ready, getting ready to tour. So it's cool. We've got time. A good idea will last. It will survive. So I think it's okay. COVID hopefully is nearly done, but it's weird to be feeling grateful for what it's taught us. I really do feel that. And you lot watching at home have been amazing for me as well. So thank you everyone who's been part of this. Every Thursday it's been a joy. Thank you very much everyone who's tuned in tonight. Thank you so much to my gang here up on Zoom, kind of supporting, listening and prodding and smiling. It's really, really helpful. Love you people. I am going to be live again this time next week. What am I doing this time next week? I can't even remember. I've got so much happening in my world. I'm struggling to even understand. Oh yeah, it's the Creation Lounge Live. If you don't know what the Creation Lounge is, I have a group on WhatsApp of people who make music or make art, or do anything creative. You can join it for free, shlow.link/WhatsApp. And we're actually forming a band called Invalid Code, inspired by the, if anyone saw the Glastonbury live stream that went horribly wrong and thousands of people couldn't get in for hours and they just got the repeated message of an invalid code. So we're going to make a band called Invalid Code. This time next week, we're going to be working remotely with people around the world helping me. We're going to make a track. So if you want to be part of that, you actually can. If you go to my Creation Lounge, oh look, my nails match the color, that's nice. Shlow.link/WhatsApp to join the Creation Lounge, and you can sign up in there to be part of a show we're going to do this time next week, writing a song together remotely around the world. Anyone's welcome. You don't have to have experience of music. I'll teach you what to do. It's going to be fun. But gang, thank you very much for tuning into our Reconnect R&D, sharing, work in progress. Thank you to Matthew, and thank you to everyone else who's been up here on Zoom. It's been really fun seeing you all, and I really can't wait to just keep working on this and show you what we've made. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. We're going to be raving together before you know it. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you this time next week. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
Born